The Chrisley family, from the Chrisley Knows Best show, and then they have another show. I believe, I don't know what it's titled, but it's one with the kids, Chase and Savannah. And I know them because, and I know a lot of fans who are watching right now who are also wrestling fans know them because this show always came on or before wrestling shows on USA Network. So that's kind of how I learned
Look,
about
I
them.
always watch the first minute of it by accident while I'm turning everything off. And I gotta tell you, I never trusted him. There was something about this
Oh
man that
man.
seemed so untrustworthy. I just knew it. I knew it. Trust your gut.
There's something about, I think it's his charisma. It's his charisma, the way he like presents himself. He's very I don't know, very, it just goes along with the wrestling aesthetic, I guess. But their son Chase is finally speaking out. Savannah Chrisley has a podcast. And for those of you who don't know, the husband and wife, the mother and father, I believe it's Todd and Julie Chrisley, uh, got in trouble with the law, some tax fraud and different things like that. A total combined sentencing they received of 19 years in prison. Um, and if you've watched their show, you know that there's uh, a few kids involved. Obviously, Chase and Savannah are in their 20s, but there's a young girl who is adopted, which I don't know. Do you know the story about them or anything like that?
I don't. I'm not too familiar with them. Other
So,
than I don't trust Chris Chrisley. That's it.
yeah. so, uh, so the dad, Todd Chrisley, had uh, a son and a daughter, I believe. I don't know if there's any more from a previous marriage. So they're older. And his son had a child, had a girl, but he's been in and out of rehab. So basically, the Todd took custody of the child, adopted her, um, while he's in rehab, or out of rehab, and just
I do respect when people do that. I
yeah,
do have a lot of respect for people to tend to do that. It's still family, still,
yeah,
it's I always go back to, which doesn't get talked about enough, Eminem. Eminem has two daughters
yeah.
that he pretty much adopted out of,
Yep.
family's issues. So that, I do have a lot of respect for that.
Yeah, it's a really big. It goes deep, that situation. But regardless, the parents are getting 19 years total combined sentence in prison. Savannah Chrisley is getting custody of the little girl. I believe she's maybe like 10 or something like that, maybe a little younger. And also of her brother, who I think is like 16 or something like that, until he's legal. Um, Imagine being like in your early 20s and you get custody of like younger siblings and different things like that. I mean, it's a lot. I'm assuming all at one time. But
Agreed. I'm sure they have the financial means to take care of,
yes,
but it's a lot of responsibilities, and you have to change your entire lifestyle around this.
yeah. So
Over something that you're not even like responsible for, because this is over your parents being messy, you know what I mean? It's not
yeah,
even like you're obligated to fulfill a duty. Your parents were messy, they're going to jail, now you have all these responsibilities because of it. At the same time, they also wouldn't have what they had without their parents. So it's a weird,
yeah.
it's a weird circumstance.
And when they first started the show, it's over 10 years now, I believe. They had an issue with money where they had a lot of money and then they lost it all, and then he got it all back, and a lot of people are saying this is how he got it all back. But regardless, their shows are canceled. Growing Up Chrisley is for the kids, and then Chrisley Knows Best is obviously their family. Both reality shows on USA Network, both got scrapped from the network. And Savannah's doing a podcast now. She had her brother Chase on, who spoke for the first time, and he flat out said, like, I don't need to explain how I feel to anybody other than the people I care about. Obviously, what we've been going through is hell. It's terrible. Terrible situation, and he has to try to find the good in a dark time, which kudos to him for being so stern on that, and positive in a way.
I mean, that's the right attitude to have.
Yeah,
I'm team don't sunk in the corner when something goes wrong. Try to either think the positive of it, or it's not how you fall, it's how you get back up. That's
exactly.
what shows the resilience of us as human beings, and our character as people. You're gonna grow faster than what you were probably counting on, but it's a part of life, and it's
Yeah,
family, and you just stick it out for them, regardless of what people do, whether it's right, whether it's wrong, whatever. I'm very, I'll do anything for my family. So I would assume that, that comes with the territory, with the last name, right?
Yeah. And Chase actually just got engaged a few months ago,
I
or
saw
not even
that.
a few months ago. Just got engaged. So it's got to be hard to be in a situation like that where like you're getting married. Your parents obviously won't be there. The younger kids, graduating high school, going to college, or just different milestones. I mean, 19 years is a pretty long time.
Yeah, it is.
I've seen situations with different celebrities. There was a housewife. I don't know if you're too familiar with them, but Teresa Giudice from the New Jersey Housewives. She and her husband at the time had something along the
Oh,
same lines, like tax fraud and
yeah.
uh,
So I don't watch The Housewives, but I'm caught up on all the tea, and I know this case.
yeah, yeah. So Teresa and her husband both got sentenced, but they went one after the other. So someone was there to take care of the kids, which I believe is the proper way to do a sentencing if both parents are going. So
Yeah,
in this
but it depends on how
situation,
young the kids are and whether the kids have, like you said, somebody in the family that can step up and take care of the younger ones. Then
yeah,
I assume they send them, at the same time.
yeah. And Savannah even brought it up on her podcast, like using Teresa as an example. That's where I got the example from, actually. And she said basically, if they did it for them, why can't they do it, for them as well, despite having somebody to watch the kids?
A lot of it has to do, I do agree with you on that aspect, because I noticed some celebrities like commit the same kind of fraud, whether it's tax
Yeah,
fraud or different kinds of frauds. And it almost feels like whether or not the judge is in the mood to make an example out of this person or not, because a lot of the, oh, there's Roman's weekly appearance.
Roman.
Um, a lot
Good
of
one.
these sentences seem to be mixed. Like some people
Yeah.
get no time, some people get a lot of time, some people barely get any time. And I mean, we don't know the legal system. I know I'm far from knowing it. I feel there should be some kind of standard, like if this tax fraud, if it's from this amount to this amount, this many years, and that way everybody gets treated the exact same way.
Yeah. I heard someone also say too, like, oh, there's celebrities, they're gonna knock down their sentencing. They'll be out before the 19 years or whatever. They always do. Is that like a what do you
Well,
how
I
do you feel
mean,
about
you
that?
have there's certain things that you can do to get out before. There's like good behavior. There's
Yeah.
programs within the prisons that you can follow through, and they allow you to parole meetings where you can try to get out earlier. My mom used to be a correctional officer, FYI. So we used to like deal with a lot of these like people getting out early and all that, and she would go into the hearings, which I always thought were the most interesting stories of how people could prove that they can change, and they would let them out early. I don't see them serving the full 19 years. I don't.
Yeah. Well, Julie was sentenced to 7 years, and then Todd got 12 years. And apparently they're planning to appeal their sentencing. So maybe they'll get, less time than that. Um, but if I was in that situation, I know that the one of the major things I'd be worried about is on the show. One of the funniest characters on the show is the grandmother, Todd's mom, Nanny Faye. She is the funniest. I don't know. She's the funniest. She's my favorite character on that show.
I don't want to compare them, but when I watch Miss and Mrs., my favorite character is Marie's mom. She's
Yep.
so hilarious.
Yep. She is great. It's always the grandmother. It's always, I don't know. They're always just the funniest.
Because they have no filter. I don't know what it is about the
Yep.
grandmas. Like they don't care about the cameras. They're saying exactly what they're thinking, no matter what.
Yep. And she's getting older, so it's like, if it's 19 years, like she may go before they get out, and that's like that would weigh heavy on me. I know
Agreed.
that.
Agreed.
But on a lighter note, hopefully they get out sooner or later, because there's a lot
I
of
think they'll
family
appeal,
stuff.
and maybe they'll get something lower, or maybe they'll get out early. We'll see how it goes. We'll see how it all plays out. But we have seen a lot of people don't not serve their full sentences
Yeah.
due to one reason or the other. So you never know. I mean, appeals can even be made while they're already in jail, and a lot of times you end up getting that time served, etc., etc. So we'll see where it goes. But it's I mean, it's justice, it's tragic. It depends on how big of a fan you were of the family.
Yeah.
It just feels like a lot of times people come to money when they didn't have any, and you gotta get advisors, man. Like, figure out a way to keep all your things in check so this doesn't happen to you.
Yeah, and I think the biggest thing, the biggest moral here is nobody's exempt from the law. I mean, like, just because you're a celebrity, just because you have millions and billions of dollars, it all catches up to you sooner or later. So just keep your stuff in check. You know, it's not even about you; it's about your family. Like, keep your family. You know.
If you want to see all our videos about real news stories that are funny, stupid, or weird, click the subscribe button below. Otherwise, we'll start posting spoilers about your favorite new movies.